Hey, welcome back everybody. This is going to be game 4 of Sparkyz versus STX Seoul. Sparkyz in a lead for once in their life, 2-1 against STX Seoul. A chance to finish it out here. This is going to be SeCret, aka Haksu, as the white Protoss in the southwest for Sparkyz. His opponent up there in the northeast as the very green Zerg is by.hero. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now that if you haven't watched last week's game with SeCret versus Violet, you should watch that now. In fact, you should watch that whole series. It was very exciting. But in particular, what I'm going to say in the next couple minutes will be entirely spoiling that. So go ahead and watch that if you haven't already. Just last week, Sparkyz cast, week 13 versus KT. Anyways, so SeCret is once again trying to be the man. SeCret last week tried to solidify his legacy. His legacy, of course, is his only crowning achievement, which was beating Bisu early in the season, and a huge upset. Was once again able to do the same thing, beating Violet, who is another incredibly good Protoss player. Maybe not Bisu caliber, certainly not in the same league of Bisu in terms of legacy, but still a very hot young Protoss player, once again taken out by SeCret. And so SeCret in that regard is playing quite hugely for Sparkyz. The one thing that I can say about SeCret though is he's played 2 PVZs this season, which he's both lost, and I don't know why they would keep playing him against Zerg players when he is much better at taking out Protosses, but what are you going to do? I mean, I would say that, hey, you should put Yark in this. I don't know why they don't play Yark in more ZVZs, especially if they can get him against a more mediocre Zerg like by.hero. But, you know, at least in terms of the matchup this game, they've already played Type B and Hogel, so you know, they need a Protoss in the lineup, I suppose. But SeCret, you know, I don't know, keep him for those high-profile Protoss versus Protosses, maybe. Although he is starting to have the resemblance of what Harangi did last season. It looks like, once again, this kind of funny build that I've been seeing a little bit on this map in PvZ. This is Match Point, by the way, which is actually evened out completely. At the time that I'm casting this, it is a perfect 50-50 in terms of Protoss versus Zerg. And I've seen this a couple of times. It's actually a gateway first fast expand, similar to the Forge first, but I guess they just assume that you know, the Zerg is going to be going for an early expansion rather than like a 9-pool strategy of trying to get very quick lings, because those cannons are late. Partly it's because there's that choke point that can be pretty well defended, like you see SeCret doing right there, putting that gateway and that forge as sort of an initial barrier and then hiding the cannon behind it. Pretty powerful. And actually he's sending out a couple of probes to block the ramp from these first couple of Zerglings, these probes there, just to delay those Zerglings long enough for that cannon to hopefully warp in. He's not, okay, it looks like he is just barely able to do that, losing one of those probes along the way though, so a little bit of a loss, but not the worst scenario in the world. Apart from that, apart from the gateway being before the forge, it is a pretty standard opening here coming from SeCret. He's got his Stargate on the way, and his expansion will be up and running pretty shortly. At the same time, this is a lot of what the Zerg has been doing lately by hero, which is a ton of expansions coming down. 3 hatcheries already. The natural expansion is being built, as well as the expansion over in the southeast corner for by.hero. We'll see if he tries to do one of these Neo-Sauron builds on this. That's usually not the case. Usually it's more lurkers, but sometimes a lot of the Hydralisks coming in to snipe, particularly the third base. The third base is particularly vulnerable, I feel, for a Protoss. Either they put it at sort of the 9 o'clock position, and it's pretty vulnerable because it's right below a high ground area, or it's up at the northwest position, which is pretty far away from the main base and kind of hard to reinforce. Especially since often the Protoss at that point is trying to deny that base in the southeast corner, so most of his forces are hanging out in the southeast, and it takes a long time for them to get back to the northwest. Anyways, the first Corsair is out for SeCret, and he's going to be able to kill off that one Overlord, and then move in and probably get a good scout out at all of by.hero's bases. by.hero is not doing particularly well this season, just 3-6 so far. He's 1-2 this year against Protoss, with his one win being against Stork. So that's pretty surprising too. Maybe a little bit of a high-profile Protoss sniper in his own right. But still, SeCret, he has 2 now, so he's still the man in terms of shocking and awing people in random killing of Protoss awesomeness. Anyways, my sentences are becoming less sentences and more of me rambling, so I'm going to cut that off. But we're going to see if SeCret can turn around his fate and finally get a win against the Zerg and become a more all-around player. I think I was saying minutes and minutes ago that SeCret is sort of becoming what Harangi was last season. Certainly not to that effect, though. Towards the end of last season, I think Harangi was like on the verge of having 70% win rate overall, just upsetting everybody that he can find, really. And in particular, that's how he did it, largely, was he had an absurd win rate against Protosses. So SeCret might be following in that trend of being an awesome Protoss versus Protoss player, but really to be the player that Harangi was last season, he needs to up the rest of his matchups and get some wins against other races, basically. DT's coming out for SeCret. So once again, Forge first fast, well, not quite, Gateway first fast expand, but similar to what Cal did, going into DTs early on, and I'm not 100% convinced on this DT strategy. Ooh, huge swarm of Scourge trying to chase down those Corsairs. They're a little bit in trouble. Being able to nice stop and focus fire. One of those Scourges land, but that is just the one, so he isn't able to kill any of those Corsairs. Those Corsairs are going to live for a little bit while longer, but they have to leave because there are already Hydralisks in the main base, well, not the main base, but that base in the southeast corner that by.hero has set up. Also, those DTs being thwarted at that same time because by.hero also has an evolution chamber, and he is wisely putting down spore colonies to add in a little bit of extra detection. That sunken spore defense is very powerful against DTs, and like I was saying, I just don't think that it's that great of an idea against modern Zerg. Like, maybe if your first Corsair comes out and you get like 3 Overlord kills with the first one, and none of your Corsairs ever take any damage, then maybe you transition into DTs. But I think you should really be planning and for maybe even going for Reavers. I think Reavers would do a better job of harassing than these DTs. I guess they do have benefits in that, like that, they are able to get a little bit of scouting information around the map, and they're often very useful in terms of denying extra expansions because they can snipe off drones as they come in and try to build a new hatchery. But usually not. I wouldn't say they're necessarily worth their cost, except for maybe in that scouting department. The scouting is pretty nice. And it's also a pretty easy transition into High Templar. So, while I don't like the DTs coming out first, you do want your High Templar out. Maybe it's just a good stalling tactic, sort of. Keep the Zerg a little bit on their toes while you're transitioning and getting your Psy Storms researched. anyways, SeCret coming out now, pushing out a little bit with the Speed Zealot army with a few High Templars in the mix, and that critical mass of Corsairs was not quite critical enough, not able to take out those Scourge, and all of the Corsairs going down for SeCret. So pretty rough loss right there. The first Storms are out, and that is a huge kill right there for that High Templar. It looks like 5 kills, and 1 DT actually sneaking all the way into the main base. It looks like an Overlord is probably going to pop. Ooh,